Hello friends. Well, while you are working on an operating system and you have got many processes running in it, then sometimes what happens is that one of the process is like taking up all of the resources and your other applications get slowed down. Or in other instances, you might want yourself to give more CPU power to one resource or one specific process as compared to others. And by the giving the CPU power, in fact, it really means that how much time you have dedicated the CPU cycles to a particular process. So we can put it like this, maybe this way. So there are a number of processes running in it, maybe let's say 5 processes or maybe more than that, and they have been put in this manner. Like this is the CPU cycle time in 1 second. So these are sub-second intervals, and we have got, how many are there? So 1 2 3 4 5. So 5 processes are in there, and we see that more or less they are of equal value. So CPU is equally dividing the time. But in other scenario, what we can do is that, let's say we have got a process which is more CPU intensive and we wanted to have more CPUs. What we can do is that we can define that CPU should provide it more time as compared to others. So something like that. So in this case, CPU will be providing more time onto this process, or will be spending more time to run this process as compared to others. And this could be a problem as well. If you do not want it, you can bring the time to a level that you want it to, or maybe this could be a situation where you actually want this to behave in that way. Well, to achieve this functionality, we have got these commands, which is one is nice. Yeah, we really need to type in nice on the command line, and the other one is Renice. Now nice is used when we want to start a process, so that is used on the startup of the process, and Renice is that when a process is already running and we want to change the priority that CPU is giving to that particular process. Now, when we talk about the priorities, there's a range that we can use to set the niceness level of the processes, and that starts from -20 and goes up till 19. By default, when you start a process, it is given a nice value of 0. So that's the default value. So this is default value, and these are the two extremes. -20 means that it is the most prioritized process. So this one is the highest priority, and this plus sign, although this is plus, but this is the least priority. So if you want a process to consume the least of the CPU resources, you can put its nice priority as 19, and if you want that the CPU should never get itself off from a process, you should put it -20. And I must tell you that you should avoid using the extreme limits. Even I'll show you in a while that even the audio process on Linux, which is Pulse Audio, it is even set at -11, which is almost like real time. So avoid using these extreme values, because if you are using a process that is like a continuing process and you put its nice value to maybe 20, then all of your CPU consumption will be directed towards it, and you may not be even able to type in the commands on the console or on the terminal, because then CPU will all be busy doing its work with this process. So just remember that the range for setting the nice is -20 to 19, where 19 is the least priority process and -20 is the highest priority process. So now let's head over to the terminal and see how we can use the nice command to set the priorities of different processes. So I'm here at my Ubuntu box, and let's just use this command. Let's type in ps, then minus. We can use the A switch for displaying all the processes. So let's type in FL and press enter, or put an X over here, and if I bring it all the way up to see the name of the values, this NI, this is the short for nice. And if we bring it down all the way, you see that these values over here, they're all -20, and this cups or this CPU set service, and this is for helper. And if you bring it down all the way, the thing that I told you about the pulse audio, this is over here, and it has got a nice value of 11. Now at the moment this is showing us all the processes. If I remove A, so that it will show the processes which relate to that particular user and not all the processes. So at the moment I'm connected remotely to this machine, so that's the only process. This is bash shell that is running in. Now let's try to execute a command, and let's try to use, let's say, sleep command, which is pretty easy to understand the concepts of certain commands and certain tools, and put an ampersand as well so that this process goes in the background. Now let's try to see its nice value. You see, this is the command that I've used, this sleep 2000, and its nice value by default is 0. Now if I want that this sleep nice value should go on the higher priority side, or it should go on the negative side, because negative, the more the negative it is, more the higher priority is that. But if I try to do that, let's just see what happens. So I give in the command nice, and then the syntax to put in the values is minus is the hyphen, and then minus is the negative value if I want to give a negative value. So the first minus is like a switch, start of the switch, and this minus is that I want to assign a minus value. So let's say I want to assign it -8 nice value, and then I need to put in the process name, and since I'm using nice, so that would mean that I want to start a new process. I can use Renice over here to change the priority or the nice value of this process, but let's just start a new process. So I put in sleep, and let's say 1000, and put it in background. Now you see what it has given me, the message that by default I cannot change the nice value of a process on top of its default value. Only root can do that. Now that's a bit of a problem, but I can bring it down. For example, I can put in this like this. So again, this is the hyphen, this is not -8, this means that start of a switch, and 8 value means +8, so it's like less priority. I press enter, and the process started. And if we have a look at the output, we see that indeed this process, which is this one 1687, this has started, and with a nice value of 8. And also look at this one, when I tried to set it with -8, it did start a process, although it gave us a message that it could not set the niceness level, but it did start the process. And look at this one, this 1685, this process ID, it did start the process, but it gave it a default nice value of 0. Now let's try to use the same command but with root privileges. So I type in sudo, and now the process started. Now let's have a look at the output of this file. The process ID is 1689. So where is that? And it's saying that it's stopped over here. Okay, so no problem. Anyway, I need to put in minus as well, because we wanted it to be of higher value. So I put in minus, and the process now has started. Let's have a look at the output. Saying that is again stopped. Why it is stopping this process? Okay, so let's do this in this way. Since I'm still using my shell, I'm not using root shell. I need to use the root shell. So let's try to switch to root user. I give in the password, and now I'm root. And now let's try to use this sleep command with higher priority value. I give in nice, let's say -8, and or maybe I think the problem over here is that I am only seeing the processes of me and not root user. So this command did get execute, and I believe the priority was set to -8. So let's try to use the root user this time. So I type in -8 and then the process name. Let's just say sleep, and this time put it 10,000 second and put an ampersand besides that as well. So once that is done, do a PS and -ELF or LFX, and also grab the output for sleep process. So once that is done, this is the process that I have started sleep 10,000, and look at its value, which is -8. Now let's do one thing. Let's get out of the root shell and come to our normal user shell and use the same command, which is PS -LFX or FLX, does not matter. We can change the position of the switches over here, and try to grab the process sleep. So we see that it is only showing us the process which belong to this user. But if I use -A switch, then it is showing us the processes which are not owned by us as well, but are the processes of the same process name. So these are the processes in the end which are owned by the user root, and indeed their priority is set to -8. Now we have seen that how we can change we can start the process with a certain priority, and we know that we cannot change this default priority from 0 to a higher priority value which is negative, but we can change it to a lower priority value process. In case we have already got a process running, for example this sleep 10,000 process, it is already running, and it has got a process ID of 1687. Let's say that I want to change this priority to maybe 7, so a bit higher value. So how to do that? So the command is Renice, and then this time there is a glitch. In case we want to use nice, then the first switch that we want to use is hyphen and then the value. But in case we are doing Renice, we do not. In case we want to put positive value, we do not want to put any hyphen. And in case of negative values, you see that we had earlier given like -8, but in case of Renice command, we will simply put in -8. So there's a gotcha that you just need to remember that how to use that command. And let's just put in, let's say 7, and then the process ID, which is we use with the switch -P, and the value is, let's say 1687. Now since we are kind of upping the priority or making from low to high, it should not let us do that. So let's try to do it, and you see that it has again given us the error that permission denied. But if you want to bring it down further, it has changed its priority from 8 to 9. Again, of course we can use the root privileges to change the value from 8 to 7. So that's all there is to it as far as magic processes priorities through nice and Renice commands. Sometimes these are really handy if you want to execute a program, or the program is already running and is hogging all the resources of your machine, and you want to set its priority low, then you can use these commands, nice or Renice. I hope you have learned from this video, and I would like to thank you for viewing.